Tonight, we're going to travel back to the American West of the 1800s, where dust swirls across vast open plains and the life of a cowboy was far from the glamorous adventures we often see in movies. We'll discover what it was really like to live under endless skies, riding from sunrise to sunset with nothing but your horse, your wits, and your determination to keep you alive. If you're enjoying these stories, I'd really appreciate a like or subscribe. I'm curious where you're listening from, so drop a comment with your location and what time it is there. Now find a cozy spot, take a slow deep breath, and let your body sink into comfort as we journey back in time together. Congratulations, you've just woken up in the American West of the 1870s. The cool morning air feels crisp against your skin as you blink your eyes open to the first pale light of dawn. You're lying on a simple bedroll spread across the hard-packed earth, your back already aching from another night spent under the vast, star-filled sky. The wool blanket beneath you is scratchy against your skin, and the oilcloth you wrapped around your belongings last night is stiff and cold to the touch. Around you, other shapes are stirring, your fellow cowboys beginning to rise for another long day on the trail. Your muscles protest as you sit up, and you feel every minute of yesterday's 14 hours in the saddle. Your legs are bow-shaped from years spent riding, and your hands are calloused and cracked from rope burns, weather, and endless work. You've been on this cattle drive for 3 weeks now, pushing 2,000 longhorns north from Texas toward the railhead in Abilene, Kansas. 3 more weeks to go, if the weather holds and nothing spooks the herd. The smell of coffee brewing pulls you fully awake. Cookie, the camp cook, is already busy at the chuck wagon, stoking his fire and preparing breakfast. That man might be the grumpiest soul you've ever met, but right now the rich aroma of coffee beans boiling in that big metal pot makes him seem like an angel sent from heaven. Your mouth waters at the thought of hot coffee cutting through the trail dust that seems permanently lodged in your throat. "Rise and shine, boys," calls the trail boss, his voice rough from years of shouting over wind and cattle. "Sun's coming up, and them cows ain't going to move themselves." You run your fingers through your hair, feeling the grit and oil built up over days without washing. Your bandana, tied loosely around your neck, will soon be pulled up over your nose and mouth to keep out the worst of the dust. Your Stetson hat, beaten by sun and rain but still holding its shape, sits ready beside your bedroll. Those wide brims aren't just for show, they're the difference between having the skin on your face or watching it peel away under the merciless desert sun. Around the camp, 15 other cowboys are folding their bedrolls, pulling on boots, and making their way toward the coffee pot. These are tough men from varied backgrounds, former slaves from the South, Mexican vaqueros who taught the American cowboys most of what they know, European immigrants seeking their fortune, and young men born in the territories raised in the saddle. Despite their differences, out here on the trail they're all just cowboys, paid the same wage, facing the same dangers, sharing the same miserable conditions. You reach for your boots and shake them vigorously before putting them on. It's a habit born of necessity. Scorpions and spiders love the warm darkness of a cowboy's boot, and you learned long ago that a quick shake could save you from a painful sting or bite. The tough leather is shaped to your feet after months of wear, the narrow toes and high heels designed specifically for riding. Those heels aren't for show either. They help keep your feet secure in the stirrups as you ride. "Breakfast in 5, Cookie announces, his voice carrying across the camp. "You want hot food, you'd best get here before it's gone. No one needs to be told twice." You tuck your bedroll under your arm and make your way to the chuck wagon, joining the line of men waiting for their morning meal. The chuck wagon itself is an impressive sight, a modified army wagon with a large box attached to the back, filled with food supplies, cooking equipment, and even basic medical provisions. Goodnight invented this mobile kitchen just a decade ago, and it's revolutionized life on the trail. Before chuck wagons, cowboys had to make do with whatever they could carry in their saddlebags. Cookie slaps a metal plate into your hands, heaping it with beans and bacon. It's the same meal you had yesterday, and the day before, and will likely have tomorrow, but hot food is hot food and you're grateful for it. You take your plate and tin cup of coffee and find a spot to sit, the ground still cool beneath you. As you eat, you watch the sky lighten in the east. It's going to be another scorcher today. You can feel it in the air. The good news is there are no clouds on the horizon. Rain might sound pleasant after days of dust and heat, but a storm on the open prairie is every cowboy's nightmare. Lightning can spook a herd into a stampede faster than anything, and a stampede means hours of dangerous riding to regain control, if you're lucky, Well, you've seen what 2,000 frightened longhorns can do to a man caught in their path. The memory of your friend Jackson, trampled 2 years ago when his horse stumbled during a night stampede, still makes your stomach clench. You about done daydreaming? The voice of Diego, one of the vaqueros, pulls you from your thoughts. His dark eyes are amused beneath the brim of his sombrero. Boss says we're moving out in 10 minutes. You gulp down the last of your coffee, feeling the hot liquid burn pleasantly all the way down to your empty stomach. The beans and bacon are already gone. You've learned to eat quickly on the trail. Time is always in short supply, and a cowboy who dawdles over his food might find himself going hungry. Cookie takes your empty plate with a grunt that might be thanks. You head back to your bedroll, rolling it tight and tying it with practiced movements. Everything you own in the world is in this roll: a spare shirt, an extra pair of socks, a small bag of tobacco, your straight razor, and a tattered photograph of your mother. $35 in wages is carefully tucked into your boot, the accumulated payment for over a month of work. It's not much, but it's enough to keep you fed and with a roof over your head during the winter months when cattle drives stop and ranch work slows. You strap your bedroll behind your saddle and check your horse over carefully. This gelding has been with you for 3 years now, a steady mount with good cow sense. You run your hands down his legs, feeling for any swelling or heat that might indicate injury. Finding nothing concerning, you check his hooves next, picking out small stones and packed dirt. A lame horse out here could mean death, not just for the horse, but potentially for you as well. The closest town is 4 days' ride away, and no cowboy can keep up with a cattle drive on foot. Mount up! The trail boss's command rings out across the camp, and there's an immediate flurry of activity as men finish their preparations and climb into their saddles. The morning air is still cool as you swing up onto your horse, feeling the familiar creak of leather beneath you. Your body settles into the saddle like it belongs there, years of riding having shaped your muscles and bones to this position. You nudge your horse forward, taking your place in the lineup. As a mid-level hand, you'll be riding flank today, keeping the herd bunched together and chasing down any strays that try to wander off. Ahead, the point riders are already moving towards the bed ground where the cattle spent the night. In the growing light, you can see the massive herd of longhorns, some still lying down, others already on their feet and grazing on the sparse grass. Their enormous horns catch the early sun, them spreading 6 feet or more from tip to tip. These aren't the docile beef cattle of today's ranches. These Texas longhorns are half-wild descendants of Spanish cattle that have adapted to the harsh conditions of the frontier. They're lean, tough, and can be dangerous when provoked. The work of getting them moving begins. Point riders circle the front of the herd while drag riders prod those still reluctant to rise. You take your position along the side of the herd, your horse alert beneath you, ready to respond to the slightest pressure from your legs. This is where experience counts, knowing how to move, when to push, when to hold back. A good cowboy can read cattle like a book, anticipating their movements before they happen. As the herd begins to move, a familiar cloud of dust rises into the air. You pull your bandana up over your nose and mouth, but you know from experience that by day's end you'll still be tasting dust with every swallow. Your eyes will be red and irritated, your skin coated with a fine layer of grit that works its way into every crease and fold of your body. There's no escaping it. Dust is as much a part of a cattle drive as the longhorns themselves. The sun climbs higher as the morning progresses, its heat intensifying with each passing hour. By midday it feels like you're riding through an oven, the air shimmering above. The prairie grass sweat soaks your shirt, then dries almost immediately in the hot, dry wind. Your lips crack and split, and no amount of water seems enough to quench your thirst. But the canteen at your side must last until evening, so you take only small sips, just enough to wet your mouth. Around noon, you spot a stray yearling breaking away from the herd, its lean body darting through a gap in the line. Without hesitation, you signal your horse with a slight shift of weight and pressure from your legs. The gelding responds instantly, changing direction and accelerating toward the escaping longhorn. This is what you live for, these moments of perfect communication between rider and horse, the thrill of the chase, the satisfaction of a job well done. You close on the yearling quickly, your rope already loose in your hand. With a practiced motion, you swing the lariat overhead and release, watching as the loop settles perfectly around the animal's neck. Your horse knows what comes next, bracing itself as you pull the rope taut and begin turning the stray back toward the herd. It's a dance you've performed countless times, and despite the danger, a wrong move could result in your horse falling, the rope tangling around your arm, the angry longhorn charging, there's a certain beauty to it. The yearling rejoins the herd and you return to your position on the flank, coiling your rope and securing it to your saddle once more. Your arms ache from the effort, adding to the general discomfort that is a cowboy's constant companion. But there's no time to rest or recover. Already another stray is making a break for freedom on the far side of the herd, and one of your fellow cowboys is racing to intercept it. The afternoon stretches endlessly before you, a monotonous cycle of riding, watching, chasing, and returning. The trail boss sets a steady pace, aiming to cover 15 miles before making camp for the night. It doesn't sound like much, but moving 2,000 cattle across open country is slow work. Too fast, and the animals will lose weight, becoming less valuable at a market. Too slow, and you risk running short on water or grass, or being caught by early winter storms further north. As the sun begins its descent toward the western horizon, your thoughts turn to the evening ahead. There will be another meal of beans and bacon, perhaps with biscuits if a cookie is feeling generous. There will be coffee strong enough to stand a spoon in, as the cowboys like to joke. There will be an hour or two of rest before night watch begins. Every man takes his turn standing guard over the herd during the night, alert for predators, rustlers, or anything that might startle the cattle into a stampede. Tonight, you're on second watch, which means a few hours of sleep before being woken around midnight. It's not ideal. Third watch would allow for more uninterrupted rest, but it's better than first watch, which comes immediately after dinner and leaves you struggling to stay awake in the saddle the next day. The trail boss signals for the herd to be turned slightly eastward toward a small creek that should provide water for the night. Finding good bed grounds is a critical skill. The site needs water, enough grass to feed 2,000 hungry cattle, and ideally some natural features that help contain the herd. Tonight's spot looks promising, with the creek on one side and a gentle rise of land on another that will make it easiest to keep the longhorns together. As the sun touches the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and reds, the day's ride finally comes to an end. The cattle, thirsty after hours of movement, head eagerly for the water. Cowboys position themselves strategically around the herd, ensuring that the animals don't bunch too tightly at the creek and that none wander too far in search of better grazing. You dismount with a groan, your legs stiff and sore after 14 hours in the saddle. The ground feels strange beneath your feet, and you walk with the slightly bow-legged gait that marks a career cowboy. Your first priority is your horse. No matter how tired or hungry you are, your mount comes first. You remove the saddle and bridle, checking again for any injuries or sores that might have developed during the day's ride. Finding none, you brush the animal down with handfuls of grass, removing sweat and dust from its coat. Only when your horse is watered, fed and secured for the night do you turn your attention to your own needs. The chuck wagon is already set up, Cookie working his usual magic with limited ingredients. The smell of food draws the cowboys like moths to a flame, their fatigue momentarily forgotten in anticipation of a hot meal. You join the line, exchanging tired nods with your companions. Words are scarce after a long day on the trail. Everyone is too exhausted for conversation. With plate in hand, you find a spot to sit, your body sinking gratefully to the ground. The beans and bacon taste better than the finest restaurant meal, simply because you're so hungry. You eat soberly now, savouring, each bite knowing that once the food is gone, sleep beckons. Around you, other cowboys do the same, some already lying back on their bedrolls, boots still on, hats pulled over their faces to block the last light of day. As darkness falls completely, the night watch prepares to ride out. 4 men for the first shift, moving slowly around the perimeter of the herd, singing softly to the cattle. A cowboy's singing voice might not win any contests in town, but out here it serves a vital purpose. The steady, rhythmic sound helps keep the cattle calm and lets them know where the riders are, preventing startled reactions when a horse approaches in the darkness. You spread your bedroll on a relatively flat piece of ground, not bothering to remove your clothes. Only your boots come off, set carefully beside you where they can be pulled on quickly if they're needed. The night air is cooling rapidly, a blessed relief after the heat of the day, but it means the temperature might drop uncomfortably low before morning. You pull your blanket up, using your saddle as a pillow, and gaze up at the stars emerging in the darkening sky. This is the moment when the hardships of a cowboy's life seem worth it. Lying beneath a canopy of stars so bright and numerous they seem close enough to touch. The soft sounds of cattle and horses in the background, the vast openness of the frontier stretching in all directions. Despite the aches in your body, the perpetual hunger, the dangers that lurk around every corner. There's a freedom here that can't be found in the increasingly crowded cities back east. Your eyelids grow heavy as exhaustion claims you. Tomorrow will bring another day just like this one. Dust, heat, endless riding, and the constant vigilance required to keep 2,000 half-wild longhorns moving in the right direction. But for now, sleep beckons, promising a few hours of relief before your watch begins. As you drift off, the last thing you hear is the distant voice of a cowboy on watch, his song carrying softly through the night air, a lullaby for both cattle and men. "Oh, bury me not on the lone prairie." These words came low and mournfully. Your breathing deepens, your muscles finally relaxing after the long day's exertions. Tomorrow will take care of itself. For now, there is only the blanket of stars above, the solid earth beneath, and the blessed oblivion of sleep. A rough hand shakes your shoulder, pulling you from the deepest sleep. "Your watch," whispers Luis, one of the Mexican vaqueros, his face barely visible in the darkness, just the gleam of eyes beneath his hat. "All quiet so far." You blink away the heaviness of sleep, your body protesting as you push yourself up from your bedroll. Every muscle aches from the day's riding, but there's no time to coddle yourself. Night watch is a responsibility no cowboy takes lightly. The safety of the entire outfit depends on the vigilance of those circling the herd in darkness. "Anything I should know about?" you ask, your voice thick with sleep. Luis shrugs. "Some coyotes yipping to the north, but they keep their distance. The cattle are settled." He hands you a tin cup, coffee still hot by the fire. "You'll need it. Night's colder than a banker's heart." He's right about that. The temperature has dropped dramatically since sunset, the way it always does in open country. Your breath forms small clouds in the air as you pull on your boots and reach for your coat. It's the same wool coat you wear all year, but tonight you're grateful for its weight against the chill. The fire has burned low, just glowing embers with occasional flames licking upward. Cookie sleeps nearby in his own bedroll, ready to rise before anyone else to prepare breakfast. You pour yourself coffee from the pot kept warming at the edge of the fire. It's thick and bitter, but the heat of it between your palms is welcome, and the strong brew will help keep you alert during your watch. You drink quickly, then head to where the horses are picketed. Your gelding lifts his head as you approach, ears pricked forward in recognition. "Just a few hours' work, old boy," you murmur, running your hand along his neck. The horse stands patiently as you saddle him, the leather creaking softly in the night stillness. You check the cinch twice. A loose saddle during an emergency could mean death. Before mounting up, the night is clear and cold, stars scattered across the sky like diamond dust on black velvet. A 3/4 moon provides enough light to see by, casting long shadows across the landscape. You pause, orienting yourself. The cattle form a dark mass nearby, most lying down now, their breathing forming a collective rhythm of soft snorts and sighs. 4 other cowboys are already circling the herd at a walk spaced evenly around the perimeter. You nudge your horse forward to join them, taking your assigned position. Night watch follows a simple pattern: ride slowly around the herd, singing or humming softly to let the cattle know you're there, and stay alert for anything unusual. Sometimes it's peaceful work, almost meditative in its repetition. Other times, especially during storms or in Indian territory, every sense remains painfully sharp, every shadow potentially hiding danger. Tonight seems peaceful enough. The cattle are settled, and the only sounds are the soft shuffling of your horse's hooves through the prairie grass, the occasional lowing of a cow, and the distant call of a nighthawk. Begin to hum a familiar tune, just loud enough for the nearest cattle to hear. The song's words speak of home and lost love, common themes in cowboy ballads that reflect the loneliness of life on the trail. Your circuit takes you past Jose, another night rider who tips his hat in silent greeting. Neither of you speaks. Loud voices can startle the herd, and out here sound carries far in the still night air. Besides, there's an unspoken understanding among cowboys that night watch is a time for reflection, for private thoughts and memories of places and people left behind. Your mind wanders as you ride, remembering how you came to this life. 5 years ago, you were just 17 then, a farm boy from Missouri with dreams of adventure. The reality of cowboy life quickly proved far less romantic than the stories. The brutal work, the constant danger, the poor pay, the mind-numbing boredom interspersed with moments of sheer terror. Yet something about this life has kept you here. passing up opportunities for more comfortable work in the growing frontier towns. Perhaps it's the freedom, or perhaps it's simply that after years in the saddle, you no longer know how to live any other way. A movement catches your eye, something dark slipping through the shadows at the edge of the herd. You tense, hand moving instinctively to the revolver at your hip, but then relax as you recognize the distinctive silhouette of a coyote. The small predator is smart enough to keep its distance from the massive longhorns, likely hoping to scavenge droppings or perhaps catch a rabbit flushed by the herd's presence. You adjust your position slightly in the saddle, trying to find a more comfortable seat. Your back aches from the long hours of riding, and your legs have that peculiar mixture of numbness and pain that comes from too much time in the saddle. Cowboys joke about being more comfortable on a horse than on their own feet, but the truth is that neither option offers much relief after weeks on the trail. The night deepens around you, the temperature continuing to drop. Your fingers grow stiff with cold inside your gloves. Simple leatherwork gloves that offer little protection against the chill, but at least prevent rope burns during the day. You flex them repeatedly, knowing that in an emergency you'll need full dexterity to handle your rope or gun. Time passes with agonizing slowness during night watch. There's nothing to mark its passage except the gradual movement of stars across the sky and the slow circuit you make around the sleeping herd. Your mind plays tricks on you sometimes, shadows seeming to move or take shape, only to resolve into harmless bushes or rocks when you look more closely. Staying alert without giving in to jumpy nerves is a skill that takes years to develop. A soft sound catches your attention, not from the herd but from the darkness beyond. You strain your ears, trying to identify it. There it is again, the distinctive snort of a horse, but not one of yours. Your heart rate quickens as you scan the surroundings. It could be nothing, a wild mustang passing through, or it could be trouble. Indians sometimes, rustlers more often, hoping to cut out a few cattle from the edges of the herd under cover of darkness. You make a subtle signal to Jose, who's riding the next section of perimeter. He's heard it too, his posture alert as he subtly changes his course to investigate. You do the same from your side, both of you careful not to show alarm that might spook the herd. Your right hand rests lightly on your revolver now, ready but not drawing yet. A stampede would be more devastating than the loss of a few cattle, so caution guides your movements. The sound doesn't repeat, and after a tense quarter hour of hypervigilance, you begin to relax slightly. Perhaps it was a wild horse after all, or even just the wind playing tricks. Still, you remain more alert for the rest of your watch, eyes constantly scanning the darkness beyond the herd. Hours pass this way in cold, saddle-sore vigilance. Your back develops a deep ache that no shifting of position can relieve. Your eyes burn with fatigue, and you fight to keep them from closing. This is when night watch becomes truly difficult, fighting your body's desperate need for sleep while maintaining the focus needed to protect the herd. Finally, the eastern sky begins to lighten, just a slight lessening of the darkness at first, then a gradual spreading of pale grey light. The stars closest to the horizon fade as the pre-dawn glow strengthens. Relief washes through you. Your watch is nearly done, and nothing serious has occurred. The cattle begin to stir as daylight approaches, some standing and beginning to graze while others remain recumbent, reluctant to start the day. The trail boss emerges from his bedroll, looking first toward the herd, then at the sky. Says the sky, gauging the day to come. He signals to Cookie, who's already up and rekindling the fire, then begins waking the rest of the outfit. Another day on the trail is beginning. You complete your final circuit as the camp comes to life, men moving stiffly, their breath visible in the cold morning air. Diego rides out to relieve you, his face still creased with sleep. "Anything?" he asks. "Thought I heard a horse about halfway through the watch, you report." "Nothing came of it." He nods, taking your place as you ride back to camp. You're bone-tired now, the kind of exhaustion that makes your whole body feel lead, but there's no rest for you yet. The day's work is about to begin, and night riders are expected to pull their weight just like everyone else. You'll catch sleep the next night, assuming you're not assigned to watch again. You dismount near the chuck wagon, the smell of coffee and frying bacon making your empty stomach growl. Cookie looks up from his work, his weathered face impassive. "Grab some grub," he says. "Boss wants to move out early today. Says there's water 10 miles ahead he wants to reach by noon." The coffee revives you somewhat, and the food, bacon, beans, and a couple of biscuits, gives you the energy you'll need for the morning's work. You eat quickly, standing beside the fire for warmth, watching as the camp transforms from a collection of sleeping men to an efficient working outfit in a matter of minutes. The routine is so familiar it requires little thought. Eat, saddle your fresh mount from the remuda, roll your bedding, secure it behind your saddle, and take your position. Today you're assigned to the left flank again, keeping the herd together and preventing strays from wandering off. As the sun breaks over the horizon, bathing the landscape in golden light, the cattle are already moving, urged forward by the drag riders at the rear. Dust rises immediately, the fine particles infiltrating everything: your clothes, your nose and mouth despite the bandana, even your eyes, which water continuously in a futile attempt to clear themselves. Your body moves automatically, guiding your horse with subtle shifts of weight and pressure from your legs. After years in the saddle, these movements are as natural as walking. Your mind, however, struggles against the fatigue of a night without proper sleep. You find yourself drifting, then jerking awake, fighting to maintain the vigilance needed for the job. The morning passes in a haze of dust and exhaustion. The sun climbs higher, its heat beginning to penetrate the chill of night, though at this time of year the days remain pleasantly warm rather than scorching. You're grateful for small mercies. A cattle drive in the height of summer is a special kind of torture, with temperatures soaring well above 100 degrees on the open plain. By mid-morning you've settled into a rhythm, your body functioning despite its protests. The landscape rolls by, seemingly endless grassland stretching to the horizon in all directions, broken occasionally by shallow ravines or small stands of scrubby trees along seasonal creek beds. It's beautiful in its vastness, though few cowboys would use such a word. To most it's simply the backdrop to their work, notable only for the practical concerns of water, grass and shelter it might provide. A commotion near the front of the herd catches your attention. One of the point riders is waving his hat, signalling for assistance. You press your heels into your horse's sides, urging him forward to see what's happening. As you draw closer, you see the problem. A section of the herd has balked at crossing a small ravine, causing a bottleneck that threatens to split the drive. You join several other cowboys working to push the reluctant cattle forward. It's dangerous work. The animals are nervous, some turning and trying to break back through the herd. A longhorn's horns can span 6 feet or more from tip to tip, lethal weapons when wielded by a panicked animal weighing over 1,000 pounds. One wrong move could mean being gored or trampled. Your horse knows the work well, darting in to turn a cow back toward the ravine, then quickly retreating before the animal can respond. You use your rope, twirling it overhead to create noise and movement that helps direct the cattle. Gradually the leaders find their way down the gentle slope of the ravine and up the other side, and the rest begin to follow. Crisis averted. You return to your position on the flank, adrenaline temporarily overcoming your fatigue. This is the cowboy life in essence. Long stretches of monotony broken by moments of intense activity and danger. The trail boss nods approval as he rides past, the closest thing to praise you're likely to receive. By midday, as promised, the drive reaches a small stream. The water isn't much, a shallow ribbon winding through the prairie, but it's enough for the cattle to drink and for the men to refill their canteens. The animals crowd toward the water, jostling for position, while cowboys work to ensure they don't bunch too tightly and risk injuring themselves or damaging the stream banks. You take the opportunity to splash water on your face, washing away some of the trail dust. The cool liquid is a blessed relief against your sun-warmed skin. You drink deeply, then refill your canteen, carefully securing the cap. Water is precious out here, never to be wasted or taken for granted. There's no real break for lunch. Cowboys eat in the saddle during the day, usually jerky or hardtack carried in their pockets. The only proper meals come at breakfast and dinner when the chuck wagon is set up. You chew a strip of jerky as you ride, the tough, salty meat requiring determined jaw work. It's not satisfying, but it keeps hunger at bay and gives you something to focus on besides your exhaustion. The afternoon stretches before you, the cattle moving at a steady pace across the rolling grassland. Your fatigue returns with a vengeance, your eyelids feeling weighted, your head nodding despite your best efforts. This is the dangerous time when tired cowboys make mistakes that can cost lives. You pinch yourself, bite the inside of your cheek, anything to stay alert. Landscape begins to change subtly as the drive moves northward. The grass grows a little thicker here, and occasional stands of cottonwood trees mark the courses of streams. You're leaving the arid plains of Texas behind, moving into territories that receive more rainfall. It's good cattle country, and under different circumstances, you might appreciate the changing scenery. Today, however, your world has narrowed to the immediate needs of staying awake and doing your job. A movement to your right catches your attention. A rabbit bursting from cover, startled by the approaching herd. In an instant, your hand drops to your revolver, drawing and aiming before conscious thought intervenes. You catch yourself just before firing. The instinctive reaction a testament to both your training and your jumpiness from lack of sleep. Slowly, you return the weapon to its holster, heart pounding, aware of how close you came to causing the very stampede you're meant to prevent. Jumpy today, ain't you? The voice belongs to Tom, a veteran cowboy riding nearby. His weathered face shows amusement rather than concern. Night watch will do that to a man. Keep your iron holstered unless you want the boss to tan your hide. You nod, embarrassed but grateful that no real harm was done. Tom's right. Firing a gun near the herd without cause is one of the cardinal sins of cattle driving, potentially triggering a stampede that could kill men and animals alike. The trail boss would indeed have harsh words, or worse, for such a mistake. How much farther you reckon to Abilene? You ask, hoping conversation will help keep you alert. Tom squints at the horizon. 3 weeks if the weather holds. Could be longer if we hit trouble. Trouble could mean anything from flooded rivers to Indian attacks to the dreaded Texas fever that sometimes struck northern cattle exposed to the seemingly healthy longhorns. The reminder of your destination brings mixed feelings. Abilene means the end of the drive, payment for your work and the luxuries of town, a real bed, a hot bath, maybe a visit to a saloon for whiskey and cards, but it also means decisions about what comes next, finding work for the winter, perhaps signing on with another outfit for the return journey south, or trying your luck at something else entirely. Some cowboys dream of saving enough to buy their own small herd someday, but the meagre wages make that dream distant for most. Your thoughts are interrupted by a shout from the right flank. A section of the herd has spotted better grazing and is beginning to drift in that direction, threatening to break away. You spur your horse forward to help turn them back, grateful for the activity that forces alertness. Working together with 3 other cowboys, you manage to redirect the wandering cattle back toward the main body of the herd. The sun begins its westward descent, the quality of light changing as afternoon transitions toward evening. Long shadows stretch across the prairie, and the heat of the day begins to dissipate. You're beyond tired now, operating on instinct and determination alone. Each hour feels like 3, and you find yourself repeatedly counting the time until the day's drive will end and you can finally sleep. Finally, as the sun approaches the horizon, the trail boss signals for the herd to be turned toward a suitable bed ground for the night. It's a good spot, a gentle depression in the land with a small stream along one edge, providing both water and some natural containment for the cattle. The animals, tired from the day's journey, move willingly toward the water and the relatively lush grass that grows along its banks. The outfit works with practiced efficiency to settle the herd for the night. The chuck wagon has already arrived and set up, Cookie working over his fire to prepare the evening meal. The smell of food, beans again, but with salt pork tonight instead of bacon, and maybe biscuits if you're lucky, makes your stomach growl with anticipation. You help position the cattle, then finally blessedly dismount. Your legs nearly buckle as they take your weight, stiff and sore from the day in the saddle combined with your night watch. You take care of your horse first, as always, removing saddle and bridle, checking for injuries or sores, brushing him down, ensuring he has water and grass. Only then do you drag yourself toward the chuck wagon, every step an effort. "You look like you've been dragged through hell backwards," observes Cookie as he hands you a plate. It's not sympathy. Cowboys don't do sympathy, just a statement of fact. Feel like it too, you admit, accepting the food gratefully. You find a spot to sit, your body sinking heavily to the ground. The food is simple but hot and filling, exactly what you need. Around you, other cowboys eat with the focused intensity of men who know the value of a meal that isn't jerky or hardtack. Conversation is minimal. Everyone is tired, and tomorrow will bring more of the same. The trail boss approaches as you're finishing your food, stopping beside you. "You're off watch tonight," he says, his tone making it clear this isn't a favour, but a practical decision. "Get some sleep. Need you sharp tomorrow." You nod gratefully, too exhausted for words. As soon as you've finished eating and returned your plate to Cookie, you unroll your bedding and prepare for sleep. The sun has fully set now, the temperature dropping rapidly. You don't bother removing your clothes, just your boots, placed carefully within reach for quick access if needed. Your revolver goes under. Your folded jacket, which serves as your pillow, rests beneath you. Around you, the camp settles for the night. Men talk quietly, some mending torn clothing or repairing equipment by the firelight. Others smoke, the sweet smell of tobacco mingling with the wood smoke from the fire. The night watch prepares to ride out, checking their gear and mounting up with quiet efficiency. You lie back, looking up at the stars emerging in the darkening sky. Despite the aches in your body and the bone-deep fatigue, there's a certain peace in this moment, the vastness of the sky above, the solid earth beneath, the knowledge of a job done as well as possible under difficult circumstances. These things bring their own satisfaction. Your eyelids grow heavy, the voices around you fading as sleep approaches. Tomorrow will bring more dust, more danger, more monotony interspersed with moments of intense activity. But for now, there is only the welcome oblivion of rest, pulling you down into darkness as completely as a stone sinking in deep water. Your last conscious thought is gratitude for the food in your belly, the relative safety of the camp, and most of all for the gift of sleep uninterrupted by watch duty. Then consciousness fades, and you drift into dreams of green valleys and clear streams far from the dust and danger of the trail. Morning comes too soon, the first grey light of dawn filtering through your closed eyelids. For a moment, you lie still, savouring the last remnants of sleep before the day's demands begin. Your body feels heavy against the ground, muscles stiff and sore from weeks of hard riding. The air is cool against your face, carrying the scent of dew-dampened grass, wood smoke from the rekindled fire, and the earthy smell of cattle that permeates everything on a drive. Around you, the camp is already stirring. Cookie bangs pots at the chuck wagon, his way of announcing that breakfast will soon be ready. Men grunt and groan as they rise, their bodies protesting after another night on the hard ground. No one speaks much at this hour. Words come later, after coffee has worked its magic. You push yourself up, wincing at the various aches that make themselves known. Your lower back feels particularly tight this morning, and your right shoulder throbs where you landed on it after being thrown from your horse last month. Old injuries and new ones blend together after years on the trail, creating a map of pain that every experienced cowboy carries with him. The trail boss stands near the fire, conferring with Cookie and studying the sky. There's a heaviness to the air this morning, a certain quality to the light that suggests weather might be coming. Not good news. Rain can turn a simple cattle drive into a nightmare of mud, irritable livestock, and the constant threat of stampede. You pull on your boots and make your way to the chuck wagon, joining the line of men waiting for coffee. Diego hands you a tin cup of the steaming black liquid, strong enough to stand a spoon in, as cowboys like to say. The first sip burns your tongue but sends a welcome jolt of warmth through your system. By the third sip, you're beginning to feel human again. Cookie dishes out breakfast, beans again, with salt pork and biscuits. It's the same meal you've eaten countless times, but hunger makes it taste good enough. You find a spot to sit, nodding greetings to the men around you. Conversation is still minimal, most of the outfit focused on eating and mentally preparing for the day ahead. "River crossing today," announces the trail boss, his voice carrying across the camp. A collective groan rises from the men. River crossings are among the most dangerous parts of any cattle drive, combining deep water, nervous animals, and countless opportunities for disaster. About 10 miles ahead. Want to hit it by mid-afternoon? Get across before sundown. You finish your breakfast quickly, knowing there's extra work to be done if a river crossing is coming. Every man in the outfit will need to be alert and ready, every horse steady and reliable. The trail boss begins assigning positions for the day's ride, placing his most experienced hands at critical points around the herd. "You'll take left point," he tells you, a position of responsibility that both flatters and concerns you. Point riders lead the herd, setting the pace and direction. It's skilled work that requires good judgment and quick reflexes. The boss must have noticed your handling of yesterday's ravine crossing. Or perhaps he's just short-handed and needs every capable rider he can get. You saddle your horse with particular care this morning, checking every strap and buckle twice. Equipment failure during a river crossing could be fatal. not just for you, but potentially for other men caught in the resulting chaos. Your gelding seems to sense the importance of the day, standing unusually still as you tighten the cinch and secure your bedroll behind the saddle. By the time the sun breaks fully over the horizon, the outfit is mounted and ready to move. The cattle are already on their feet, grazing the last bits of grass before being urged forward. You take your position at the left front of the herd alongside Manuel, an experienced vaquero who will ride right point. Between you, you'll guide 2,000 longhorns toward the river crossing ahead. The day's ride begins like any other. The slow forward movement of the herd, the rising cloud of dust, the endless vigilance required to keep the animals moving in the right direction. But there's an undercurrent of tension among the cowboys today, an awareness of the challenge ahead. River crossings test both men and animals, revealing weaknesses and requiring perfect coordination among the entire outfit. The landscape gradually changes as the morning progresses. The flat prairie gives way to more varied terrain, with gentle hills rising to either side. Trees appear more frequently, cottonwoods and willows that signal the approaching presence of the river. The grass grows thicker and greener, fed by the increased moisture in the soil. By mid-morning you can smell the river, a distinctive scent of water, mud, and the particular vegetation that grows along watercourses. The cattle sense it too, their pace increasing slightly as thirst drives them forward. This eagerness helps move the herd, but will become problematic at the crossing itself, where control is essential. The trail boss rides up beside you, his face serious beneath the wide brim of his hat. "River's running high," he says without preamble. "Scouting party just got back. Current strong, but there's a good entry and exit point about half a mile downstream from the main trail." You nod, absorbing this information. A high river means deeper water, stronger current, and greater danger. But a good entry and exit point, gentle slopes rather than steep banks, will help tremendously. The worst crossings combine deep water with steep muddy banks that exhausted cattle struggle to climb, creating bottlenecks that can lead to animals drowning. "Keep them tight on approach," the boss continues, "but once we hit water, give them room, don't want them bunching in the current." It's standard procedure for river crossings, but the reminder is welcome. Even experienced cowboys can make mistakes when tensions run high. As noon approaches, the river comes into view, a broad ribbon of brown water cutting through the landscape. From this distance it looks deceptively peaceful, the surface reflecting the blue sky above. Only the occasional swirl and eddy hint at the current running beneath that calm surface. The trail boss calls a brief halt, gathering the outfit for final instructions. While the cattle graze, men listen intently, understanding that their lives may depend on executing this crossing correctly. Tasks are assigned, contingency plans established, signals agreed upon. The atmosphere is focused rather than fearful. These men have faced such challenges before and will face them again, if they survive this one. Your role as point rider is critical. You'll be among the first to enter the water, establishing the path the cattle should follow. If your horse handles the crossing well, the animals are more likely to follow without balking. If you run into trouble, it could trigger panic throughout the herd. The drive resumes, angling toward the crossing point identified by the scouts. As you draw closer to the river, you can now see the power of the current, the way it tugs at fallen branches caught in its flow. The water is murky with silt, making it impossible to judge its depth by sight alone. The crossing will be an act of faith as much as skill. A quarter mile from the river, the trail boss gives the signal to begin positioning the herd. The relatively straight line of the drive transforms into a rough wedge shape with you and Manuel at its tip. Other riders move to the sides and rear, preparing to prevent breaks and keep the animals moving forward. The most experienced men take positions at the rear and along the river itself, ready to rescue any cattle or cowboys who get into trouble. Your mouth feels dry despite the water so tantalizingly close. You've crossed rivers before, some worse than this, some better, but each crossing carries its own dangers. You check your gear one last time, making sure nothing is loose that could be caught in the current. Your lariat is secured but accessible, ready for use in an emergency. The trail boss rides up one last time. Steady pace, and he reminds you, don't rush it. Then he's gone, moving back along the line to oversee the entire operation. You exchange a glance with Manuel across the front of the herd. The vaquero's face is composed, but his eyes show the same awareness of danger that you feel. He nods once, a gesture of solidarity and mutual trust, then turns his attention back to the task at hand. The time for preparation is over. You nudge your horse forward, leading the herd toward the river's edge. The ground becomes softer underfoot as you approach, the grass thicker and interspersed with reeds and sedges. Water gleams ahead, the entry point, a gentle slope of mud and gravel descending into the current. Your horse hesitates briefly at the water's edge, a natural caution that you respect but must overcome. You urge him forward with gentle pressure from your legs, speaking softly in encouragement. "Easy now, boy. Nothing to it. We've done this before." The gelding steps into the river, water swirling around his fetlocks, then his knees as he moves deeper. The footing is still good, firm rather than muddy, and his confidence grows with each step. Behind you, the lead cattle follow, their massive horned heads held high above the water. The river gets deeper quickly, the bottom dropping away. Soon your horse is swimming, his powerful shoulders working beneath you as he fights the current. Water rises to your knees, cold even through your tough canvas pants. You keep your feet in the stirrups, contrary to normal. Practice? When a horse falls during a river crossing, it's better to stay connected to your mount. Your fate's literally tied together. The current pushes against you, stronger than it appeared from the shore. It takes constant correction to maintain your direction toward the exit point on the far bank. You can hear splashing and occasional bellows behind you as the cattle enter the water en masse, but you dare not take your attention from your own crossing. Halfway across, the current intensifies, channeled by an unseen depression in the riverbed. Your horse struggles, swimming hard but being carried downstream. You fight the instinct to panic, keeping your body relaxed and your weight centered. Panicking now could doom you both. For a moment, it seems the current might win, sweeping you far downstream from the exit point. Then your horse finds new strength, his powerful legs churning through the water with renewed determination. Gradually, stroke by stroke, he regains ground against the flow. The water begins to shallow, your horse's hooves occasionally scraping bottom. Hope rises as you approach the far bank. The exit point is visible now, a gentle slope of gravel leading up to solid ground. Your horse feels it too, his efforts becoming more purposeful as solid footing comes within reach. With a lunge, he leaves the main current, water streaming from his sides as he gains the shallows. A few more strides and you're out, your boots and legs soaked but otherwise unharmed. You immediately turn to watch the herd, assessing how the crossing is progressing. The scene behind you is controlled chaos, hundreds of cattle in the water at once, their huge horns visible above the surface like a bizarre floating forest. Cowboys ride alongside the struggling animals, keeping them moving in the right direction, occasionally darting in to turn astray back toward the exit point. Manuel emerges from the river nearby, his horse blowing hard from the exertion. Like you, he immediately turns to watch the crossing, ready to ride back in if needed. There's no celebration of your own safe passage, not with the majority of the herd and outfit still in danger. The crossing continues for over an hour, a grueling process of guiding frightened, stubborn animals across a dangerous obstacle. From your vantage point on the bank, you can see the strain on both cattle and cowboys. Several times, animals get into trouble, caught in the current or panicking midstream, requiring dangerous rescue operations by the riders. Miraculously, the herd makes it across with minimal losses, just 3 cattle swept downstream despite the outfit's best efforts. One cowboy's horse stumbles in the shallows, sending its rider tumbling into the water, but both emerge relatively unscathed. By the standards of river crossings, it's a significant success. The trail boss is the last to cross, ensuring every animal and man is safely on the far shore before risking his own passage. When he finally rides clear of the water, a subtle relaxation passes through the outfit. No one speaks of their relief, cowboys don't acknowledge fear even after the fact, but it shows in slightly looser postures and deeper breaths. There's no time to rest, however. The cattle must be moved away from the river and settled for the night. They're agitated from the crossing, more prone to spooking or wandering off. Every man in the outfit remains vigilant as they urge the herd towards suitable grazing ground half a mile from the shore. You ride with water squishing in your boots and your clothes plastered to your skin. Despite the discomfort, you feel a quiet satisfaction. Point is a position of trust, and you handled it well. In the unspoken hierarchy of the outfit, such things matter. As the sun begins to set, the cattle finally settle, grazing contentedly on the lush grass of the riverside meadow. The chuck wagon has made its own crossing at a ford several miles upstream and now awaits the cowboys, the promise of hot food drawing tired men like moths to a flame. You take care of your horse with particular attention tonight, recognizing that his strength and courage carried you safely through the river. An extra handful of grain, a more thorough rub down than usual, small rewards for service that might have saved your life. Only when he's properly tended do you see to your own comfort, changing into your spare shirt and hanging your wet clothes near the fire to dry. Dinner is a more substantial affair than usual. Cookie has outdone himself with a stew containing actual chunks of beef alongside the beans and fresh biscuits to soak up the gravy. It's his way of acknowledging the day's achievement without making a fuss about it, and the men eat with special appreciation, the shared danger having heightened their awareness of small comforts. Talk around the fire is more animated tonight, the successful crossing having lifted spirits. Stories flow, tales of other river crossings, some routine, others disastrous. Cowboys who normally say little share experiences from years on the trail, each story carrying its lesson wrapped in humour or understated drama. Saw a herd panic mid-river on the Brazius back in '7, recounts Tom, the veteran who rode beside you yesterday. Water was high like today, but the banks were steep, mud on both sides. Lost nearly 50 head and 2 good men, he says this matter-of-factly, though the memory clearly still haunts him. One fellow got caught between a steer and a submerged log, never had a chance. Others share similar. Stories not to frighten, but to remind the trail holds dangers that must be respected. An experience shared can save lives. Even the youngest cowboys listen attentively, absorbing wisdom that no book could provide. The trail boss joins the circle, accepting a cup of coffee from Cookie. "Good work today," he says simply. It's high praise from a man of few words, and the outfit accepts it with quiet pride. Tomorrow we make up lost time, dawn start. No one complains. The drive has a schedule to keep, cattle expected at the railhead by a certain date, contracts to fulfill. Today's triumph is already behind them, tomorrow's challenges ahead. Night watch assignments are distributed, with extra vigilance ordered due to the unfamiliar territory and the cattle's residual nervousness after the crossing. You're assigned third watch, from roughly 200 a.m. until dawn. Not the easiest shift, but better than having no sleep at all. As darkness falls completely, you spread your bedroll on a relatively flat spot, your body heavy with exhaustion despite the lingering alertness from the day's excitement. Around you, other cowboys settle for the night, some already snoring softly, while others talk quietly or smoke a final cigarette before sleep. You lie back, looking up at the star-filled sky. The same stars shine over Texas, over the homes and families many of these men haven't seen in months. Some have no homes to return to. The trail is their only constant, the outfit their only family. It's a hard life, offering little reward beyond the basic wage and the quiet satisfaction of work well done. Yet there's a freedom to it that few other occupations can match. No walls confine you. No boss looks over your shoulder every minute. Your worth is measured in practical skills and reliability, not social standing or book learning. For men unsuited to town life or conventional work, the trail offers a place where they can belong, their eccentricities accepted as long as they pull their weight. These thoughts drift through your mind as sleep approaches. Tomorrow will bring its own challenges, another 20 miles if the boss has his way, more dust, more aches, more moments of danger balanced with hours of monotony. But tonight, with the river successfully crossed and your belly full of the best meal in weeks, contentment outweighs concern. Your eyelids grow heavy, your breathing deepens. The murmur of voices around the fire blends with the soft lowing of cattle and the occasional stamp of a horse's hoof, creating a lullaby familiar to every cowboy. Sleep comes quickly, pulling you down into welcome darkness. It seems only minutes later when a hand shakes your shoulder, though your body tells you hours have passed. "Your watch," whispers a voice in the darkness. You blink awake, momentarily disoriented. The camp is silent now, the fire burned down to embers that cast just enough light to see by. The moon hangs low in the western sky, suggesting it's indeed close to 200 km. Your third watch duty has arrived. Rising stiffly, you pull on your boots and reach for your coat. The night air has a definite chill, especially with the river so close. You check your revolver by a feel, a habit so ingrained you do it without conscious thought, then make your way to where the horses are picketed. Your mount greets you with a soft nicker. remarkably fresh considering the day's exertions. You saddle him quickly, your fingers working by touch and memory in the dim light. Minutes later, you're riding toward the herd, relieving a tired cowboy who's been circling since midnight. "All quiet," he reports. "Couple of coyotes yipped to the east, but they're keeping their distance." You nod, taking his place as he rides back to camp and the few hours of sleep awaiting him. The cattle form a dark mass across the meadow, most lying down now, their breathing creating a collective rhythm of soft snorts and sighs. You begin your circuit, riding slowly around the perimeter. The night is clear and peaceful, stars brilliant overhead. A light breeze carries the scent of water from the river and the sweet smell of crushed grass beneath the herd. In moments like this, the hardships of the trail seem distant, balanced by a profound connection to the land and sky that few people ever experience. You hum softly as you ride, a tuneless sound meant to let the cattle know you're there. Watching over 2,000 half-wild longhorns might seem like an impossible task for one man, but experienced cowboys know that calm, well-fed cattle rarely cause trouble at night unless startled. Your presence, moving predictably around them, provides reassurance rather than alarm. Hours pass with meditative slowness. Your thoughts drift, touching on memories of past drives, wondering about the trail ahead, occasionally returning to more practical concerns like the worn state of your boots or whether your wages will cover the new saddle you've been eyeing in Abilene. The eastern sky begins to lighten almost imperceptibly, the stars closest to the horizon fading as the first hint of dawn approaches. The cattle stir, some rising to graze in the cool morning air. Your watch is nearly done, the night having passed without incident. The best kind of watch from a cowboy's perspective. As light strengthens, you can see the river in the distance, its surface misty in the morning air. Yesterday's crossing already seems like a distant memory, just one challenge among many on the long trail north. There will be others, storms, stampedes, rustlers, water shortages, each testing the outfit's skill and determination. But such thoughts are for later. For now, there is only the growing light, the peaceful herd, and the satisfaction of another watch completed without incident. In the cattle drive's mixture of danger and tedium, boredom is always preferable to excitement. The trail boss emerges from his bedroll, signaling the official start of another day. Cookie is already at work, coffee pot on the fire, preparation for breakfast underway. One by one, cowboys rise, moving stiffly in the cool morning air, their faces creased with sleep and stubbled with several days' growth of beard. As your replacement rides out to take over watch, you return to camp, the smell of coffee drawing you like a magnet. Your body aches from the night's riding on top of yesterday's exertions, but there's a rhythm to the discomfort now, an expected part of each day's cycle. The drive goes on, one day blending into the next, each mile bringing you closer to Abilene and the end of this particular journey. There will be others, as long as cattle need moving and you need wages. It's not an easy life or a glamorous one, but it has its own harsh beauty and simple satisfactions. As you dismount near the chuck wagon, accepting a cup of steaming coffee from Cookie's gnarled hands, you reflect that for all its hardships, there are worse ways to live than under the open sky, doing work that demands your best and tests your limits each day. The trail has claimed many good men and will claim more before the era of great cattle drives ends. But for now, it offers a place where you belong, a purpose that makes sense and companions who understand the unspoken code of the cowboy life. The sun breaks over the horizon, bathing the landscape in golden light. Another day on the trail begins. 2 weeks have passed since the river crossing, 2 weeks of dust and monotony broken only by the occasional excitement of a wandering steer or threatening weather. The cattle have settled into the rhythm of the drive, moving with less resistance each morning, bedding down with familiar routine each night. The cowboys, too, have found their pattern. The same faces around the fire each evening, the same aches in their bodies each morning, the same endless horizon stretching before them. But today, something is different. There's a subtle shift in the outfit's energy, a barely perceptible straightening of tired shoulders, a slightly quicker pace to morning preparations. The reason is simple. Abilene lies just 2 days ahead. After weeks on the trail, the end is finally in sight. "Reckon I'll get me a bath first thing," declares Tom as he saddles his horse. "Then maybe a shave and a haircut. Make myself presentable before hitting the saloons." His weathered face cracks into a rare smile at the thought. "Presentable?" scoffs Diego good-naturedly. Going to take more than soap and scissors to make you fit for decent company, viejo. The men laugh, the banter lighter than it's been in weeks. Even the trail boss seems less stern this morning, his customary frown softened by the knowledge that his responsibilities will soon be fulfilled, the herd delivered, his men paid. You feel it too, that mixture of anticipation and relief that comes with approaching the end of a long journey. Your thoughts drift to the simple pleasures awaiting you in town. A real bed with clean sheets, hot food that isn't beans or salt pork, maybe a letter from home at the post office. Small luxuries that seem extravagant after months of deprivation. The day's ride proceeds much like any other, yet the outfit moves with renewed purpose. The trail boss pushes for good mileage, knowing that the sooner they reach Abilene, the sooner the cattle can be delivered and the men paid. No one complains about the pace. Every mile covered today means reaching town that much sooner. By evening, the landscape is showing subtle changes that indicate proximity to civilization. The occasional farm appears in the distance, fenced fields replacing the open prairie. Wagon tracks cross the trail more frequently, and once a proper road intersects your path, its surface hardened by regular traffic. That night around the fire, conversation focuses almost exclusively on the town ahead and the pleasures it offers. For some of the younger cowboys, this will be their first visit to Abilene, and the veterans regale them with stories, some true, some exaggerated, all designed to heighten anticipation. The Long Branch Saloon's got a bar that stretches 50 feet, claims one old-timer, and girls prettier than sunrise. Of course, they'll take every cent you've earned if you let them. Don't forget Bullock's Hotel, adds another. Best steak and potatoes west of Chicago, worth every penny. You listen, adding your own memories from previous visits, while mentally calculating how far your wages might stretch. $35 for a month's work sounds substantial, until you consider the prices in a cowtown at the height of the season. A good meal, $1. A bath, shave and haircut, another $1. A new shirt, $2. A night's lodging in a decent hotel, $1.50. And that's before considering drinks, cards, and other entertainments that separate cowboys from their hard-earned money. Still, after weeks of nothing to spend money on, even a few days of relative luxury seems worth the cost. Besides, there's always the return journey south and the possibility of winter work on a ranch. A prudent cowboy doesn't spend everything in one town. Morning brings clear skies and rising excitement. Just one more day on the trail before reaching the outskirts of Abilene. The herd moves well, perhaps. Sensing the change in routine ahead, or maybe responding to the cowboy's more energetic handling, by midday you can see smoke on the horizon, the coal-burning locomotives at the Abilene railhead, the destination you've been pushing toward for weeks. The trail boss calls for an early stop, wanting the cattle well rested for tomorrow's final push into town. Need them looking their best for the buyers, he explains, and I want you boys fresh too. No mistakes tomorrow. We're too close to mess up now. That night, few men sleep well despite their exhaustion. Anticipation keeps them tossing on their bedrolls, minds too full of thoughts of town to settle easily into rest. You find yourself staring at the stars, mentally spending your wages a dozen different ways before finally drifting into shallow, dream-filled sleep. Dawn comes with an energy unlike any other morning on the drive. Men are up before Cookie's first call, gear packed and horses saddled in record time. Even the cattle seem to catch the mood, rising and gathering with unusual cooperation. The chuck wagon is packed up for the last time, Cookie muttering about restocking supplies in town. The trail boss gathers the outfit for final instructions before moving out. We'll take it slow and steady into town, he emphasizes. Keep the herd tight. Don't want them spooking at all the new sights and sounds. Diego, Manuel, Tom, you take point. You've done this before. The rest of you, keep your positions and your heads clear. He pauses, looking over the assembled men with an expression that's almost sentimental. You've done good work on this drive. Let's finish it right. The outfit moves out with a sense of purpose that overrides fatigue and discomfort. The cattle flow smoothly along the trail, guided by cowboys who've learned every aspect of herd behavior over the long weeks of the drive. By mid-morning, the outskirts of Abilene come into view, scattered buildings giving way to more densely packed structures, the unmistakable silhouette of the stockyards rising against the sky. The sounds and smells of town reach you before the details become clear. The distant whistle of a locomotive, the complex scent of coal smoke, cooking food, and humanity concentrated in one place. After weeks of open prairie where the only sounds were wind, cattle, and the occasional voice, the sensory input of a town feels almost overwhelming. As you draw closer, the true character of Abeen emerges. It's a town built for one purpose: to serve as the meeting point between cattle drives from the south and railroads heading east. Everything revolves around this function, from the massive stockyards where cattle await shipment to the businesses that cater to cowboys with money to spend. The main street presents a fascinating mixture of frontier practicality and attempted refinement. Saloons with elaborate facades stand alongside utilitarian mercantiles. Hotels ranging from basic to relatively luxurious offer accommodations for cattle buyers, cowboys and other travellers. Restaurants, barber shops, bathhouses, and more specialised establishments compete for attention and dollars. But for now, your focus remains on the herd. The final approach to the stockyards requires complete concentration from every cowboy. The cattle, sensing the unfamiliar surroundings, grow nervous, requiring firm but careful handling to prevent a last-minute disaster. The noise and activity of the town present countless opportunities for spooking the herd. Wagons rattling past, steam whistles from the trains, strangers moving along the periphery of your vision. The trail boss rides ahead to confirm arrangements with the stockyard manager, while the outfit keeps the cattle moving steadily forward. Years of experience guide this final phase, knowing when to push, when to hold back, how to communicate with subtle signals that coordinate the entire group's movements. Finally, the gates of the stockyard come into view. The massive holding pens stand ready to receive the herd, connecting eventually to the loading chutes that will transfer the cattle to rail cars bound for eastern markets. It's a far cry from the open prairie where these same longhorns grazed just months ago in Texas. With practiced efficiency, the outfit guides the herd through the gates and into the designated pens. Cowboys position themselves strategically, ensuring the cattle flow in the right direction and don't bunch too tightly at the entrance. It's hot, dusty work, but the end is literally in sight, lending energy to tired bodies. As the last steer passes through the gate, a palpable sense of accomplishment spreads through the outfit. Weeks of hardship, danger and vigilance have culminated in this moment, the successful delivery of 2,000 head of cattle to their destination. The trail boss shakes hands with the stockyard manager, paperwork is exchanged, and just like that, the job is done. The cattle will be counted, inspected, and eventually loaded onto trains, but that's no longer your concern. Your responsibility ended the moment the last steer entered the stockyard. For the first time in over a month, you have no immediate duties, no herd to watch, no schedule to maintain. The trail boss gathers the outfit one last time outside the stockyard office. "Good work, boys," he says, his usual gruffness softened by genuine appreciation. "Get your horses settled at the livery, then meet at the driver's bank in 2 hours for your pay." It's a familiar routine for most of the men. The livery stable first, where trail horses will be cared for while their riders enjoy the town. Some cowboys will sell their mounts if they're not planning to ride back south, using the extra money to extend their stay in town or fund travel by train or stagecoach to their next destination. You decide to keep your gelding. He's proven his worth many times over, and good horses are valuable. The livery stable is busy with other recently arrived outfits, but you find a stall and ensure your mount is properly cared for, good grain, clean water, thorough brushing to remove the trail dust. Only when you're satisfied with his arrangements do you turn your attention to your own needs. The contrast between the open trail and the confined spaces of town is jarring. Buildings block the horizon in every direction, creating a sense of enclosure that feels strange after weeks of limitless visibility. Streets packed with people, wagons and horses create a cacophony that assaults your ears. The various smells, some pleasant, some decidedly not, compete for attention. After the relatively clean scent of prairie and cattle, your first priority is practical: secure a room for your stay. The better hotels filled quickly during cattle season, but you find space at a modest establishment called the Westerner. The room is small but clean, with an actual bed rather than a straw mattress on the floor. After weeks of sleeping on the ground, it seems luxurious beyond measure. Next comes the ritual every trail-worn cowboy craves: a bath. The town's bathhouse does steady business during the cattle season, providing hot water, soap and privacy for men who haven't properly washed in weeks. You pay your 25 cents and sink gratefully into the steaming tub, feeling layers of dirt and trail grime dissolve away. The hot water eases aches in muscles that have almost forgotten what relaxation feels like. Clean, For the first time in memory, you visit the barbershop next door. The barber takes one look at your shaggy hair and untrimmed beard and gets to work without comment. He's seen countless cowboys in the same condition. Half an hour later, you emerge looking considerably more civilized, your face smooth, your hair neatly trimmed beneath your recently dusted hat. A new shirt from the mercantile completes your transformation from trail-worn cowboy to relatively presentable town visitor. The crisp cotton feels strange against skin accustomed to sweat-stiffened fabric, but the freshness is worth the $1.50 it cost. By the time you reach the doors, most of the outfit has already assembled, looking remarkably different after similar ministrations. Men who lived in dust and sweat for weeks now stand freshly barbered and clothed, the only remaining signs of their profession being sun-darkened skin, calloused hands, and the distinctive bow-legged stance that comes from years in the saddle. The trail boss handles the paperwork inside, then emerges with a stack of banknotes. One by one, he calls each cowboy forward, counting out the agreed-upon wages plus any bonuses earned for special duties. When your name is called, you step up and receive your pay. $35 for the month's work plus a $5 bonus for your performance at the river crossing and on-point duty. It's not a fortune, but in your hand it represents the tangible reward for weeks of hardship and risk. With money in your pocket and no immediate responsibilities, the town opens before you like a book of possibilities. The outfit disperses quickly, each man following his own inclinations. Some head directly for the saloons, thirsty for whiskey and company after the isolation of the trail. Others seek out the telegraph office to send word of their arrival to family, or the post office to check for waiting letters. A few of the more prudent hands visit the bank first, depositing portions of their earnings for future needs. You decide food comes first, real food that isn't beans or trail-tough beef. The Prairie Rose restaurant offers a cattleman's special that proves irresistible. A thick beefsteak, potatoes with butter, fresh bread, apple pie and coffee, all for 75 cents. After weeks of Cookie's limited trail menu, the flavors seem almost overwhelming, each bite a reminder of the civilized pleasures you've been missing. Stomach satisfied for the first time in memory, you step back onto the busy street. The sun is lowering toward the western horizon and Abilene is coming fully to life. Saloons fill with cowboys from various outfits, their boisterous laughter and occasionally raised voices spilling onto the street. Piano music drifts from open doors, competing with the general din of conversation, clinking glasses and boots on wooden floors. You find yourself drawn to the Long Branch Saloon, where several members of your outfit have already gathered. The interior is dim after the bright sunshine outside, the air thick with tobacco smoke and the smell of whiskey. A long bar stretches along one wall just as the old-timer described, though perhaps not quite 50 feet long. Tables scattered throughout host card games of varying seriousness, while women in colourful dresses circulate among the customers, encouraging drinks and companionship at inflated prices. Diego waves you over to a table where he sits with Manuel and two other hands from your drive. A half-empty bottle of whiskey stands in the centre of the table, glasses distributed around it. "There he is," Diego calls. "Man of the hour, our point rider himself." The others raise their glasses in a mock salute, and you find yourself grinning despite your preference for less attention. "Sit down, have a drink," Manuel says, pushing an empty glass toward you. "We were just remembering that river crossing, the way you handled your horse through that current. Magnifico." You accept the glass and a generous pour from the bottle, the whiskey burning pleasantly down your throat. After weeks of nothing stronger than coffee, the alcohol hits quickly, creating a warm glow that relaxes muscles still tense from the trail. Conversation flows easily among men who've shared hardships and triumphs, their shared experiences creating bonds that transcend their varied backgrounds. As evening deepens into night, the saloon grows. More crowded and rowdy, cowboys from different outfits eye each other with varying degrees of friendliness or suspicion. Old rivalries and territorial disputes simmering beneath surface civility. Town marshals make regular rounds through the establishments, their badges gleaming in the lamplight. Their presence a reminder that Abilene maintains at least a veneer of law and order. You notice that despite the apparent chaos, certain unwritten rules remain in effect. Cowboys might drink heavily and speak loudly, but most keep their revolvers holstered and their more serious disagreements in check. Those who don't are quickly escorted outside by the marshals, sometimes to the jail depending on their offence. Contrary to popular fiction, frontier towns learned early that unchecked violence was bad for business. The evening progresses with more drinks, stories, and eventually a card game that you join with some reluctance. Poker is a common pastime among cowboys, but you've seen too many men lose their entire season's wages in a single night of bad cards or worse judgment. You set yourself a limit, $5, no more, and stick to it, despite the occasional winning hand that tempts you deeper into the game. By midnight, the effects of weeks of hard work, today's excitement, and several whiskies combine to create an overwhelming fatigue. You bid good night to your companions, some of whom seem prepared to continue until dawn, and make your way back to the Western Hotel. The night air feels cool after the stuffy saloon. The relative quiet of the side streets a relief from the constant noise. Your room awaits, the bed turned down by the hotel staff. After weeks of sleeping fully clothed on the ground, the simple luxury of removing your boots and shirt before lying between actual sheets seems almost decadent. The mattress yields beneath your weight, conforming to your body in a way that the hard earth never did. Yet strangely, sleep doesn't come immediately. The bed feels too soft, the room too enclosed after weeks under the open sky. The muffled sounds of the town, distant piano music, occasional shouts or laughter, the passing of late-night wagons, create a backdrop unfamiliar to ears accustomed to the sounds of cattle and prairie wind. You find yourself thinking of the trail, of star-filled nights and dawn breaking over endless grassland. For all its hardships, there was a simplicity to that life, a clarity of purpose that town living lacks. Here, everything is transaction and artifice, pleasures purchased rather than earned, relationships temporary and often mercenary. Tomorrow will bring more of the same, saloons and card games, perhaps a visit to the theatre or other entertainments Abilene offers to separate cowboys from their money. For some, the town's allure will consume every dollar they've earned, leaving them broke and looking for work when the cattle season ends. Others will guard their wages more carefully, spending on necessities and modest pleasures while saving for the future. Your own plans remain fluid. There's the possibility of signing on for the return journey south with the same outfit, or perhaps winter work at one of the ranches, or maybe something different entirely. The frontier offers opportunities for those willing to work hard and take risks, but such decisions can wait for tomorrow. For now, there is only the unusual comfort of the bed, the gradual relaxation of trail-tightened muscles, and the knowledge that for a few days at least you can simply be no herd to watch, no schedule to keep, no immediate dangers to guard against. Your eyelids grow heavy as your body finally surrenders to exhaustion. The last thing you hear before sleep claims you is the distant whistle of a train, perhaps carrying the very cattle you helped drive north, now bound for eastern markets and tables. There's satisfaction in that thought, in knowing that the hardships and dangers of the trail served a purpose beyond mere survival. Sleep comes at last, deep and dreamless, the well-earned rest of a job completed. Morning in Abilene arrives with unfamiliar sounds. People moving in hallways, wagons rolling on streets, the distant whistle of a locomotive. For a moment, you lie still in the unusual softness of a real bed. Your mind trying to reconcile these noises with the dawn chorus of lowing cattle and nickering horses that has awakened you for weeks on the trail. Your body feels different too, cleaner, less immediately painful, though with deep aches that speak of accumulated fatigue rather than yesterday's exertions. The mattress cradles you in a way that's both comforting and strange after so many nights on hard ground. Part of you wants to sink back into this rare luxury, to pull the sheet over your head and sleep until noon simply because you can. But habits formed on the trail die hard. Despite having no schedule to keep, no herd to tend to, your body insists on rising with the sun. You swing your legs over the edge of the bed, feet finding the wooden floor that doesn't shift or give like the earth. Everything about town living requires small adjustments from a man accustomed to life on the trail. You dress in your new shirt and freshly brushed pants, boots that still bear the unmistakable marks of hard use despite yesterday's cleaning. Cowboy life leaves its imprint on a man's possessions just as it does on his. Body. Permanent creases, weathered surfaces, repairs born of necessity rather than aesthetics. The hotel's dining room offers breakfast for 50 cents, eggs, bacon, biscuits with gravy and coffee. After weeks of beans and hardtack, it seems like a feast fit for royalty, though the eggs are slightly overdone and the coffee weaker than Cookie's trail brew. You eat slowly, savouring the novelty of sitting at a proper table, using a real plate and metal utensils instead of the battered tin of trail meals. Other diners fill the room, a mixture of cowboys from various outfits, cattle buyers in their city clothes, travelling salesmen, and the occasional local businessman. The conversations create a pleasant background hum, punctuated by the clink of cutlery and the occasional burst of laughter. It's a civilised sound so different from the elemental noises of the trail. Wind, animals, men's voices competing with the vastness of open space. With no immediate demands on your time, you step out onto Abilene's main street, already bustling despite the early hour. Businesses are opening, wagons delivering goods, townspeople going about their daily routines. Cattle season transforms these frontier towns, bringing an influx of money and activity that sustains them through the quieter winter months. You consider your options for the day. Most of your outfit is likely still sleeping off last night's whiskey, but they'll emerge eventually, drawn to the saloons and other entertainments. Part of you is tempted to join them, to lose yourself in the boisterous camaraderie and purchased pleasures that make up a cowboy's town visit. But something holds you back, a sense that there's more to see, more to experience beyond the predictable cycle of saloons and card games. With money in your pocket and time on your hands, you have choices unavailable to you on the trail. The town's mercantile draws your attention first, its windows displaying goods unavailable in the isolation of ranch life. Inside, shelves lined with canned foods, bolts of cloth, tools, medicines, and luxuries from back east create a showcase of civilization's offerings. You browse without any particular purpose, enjoying the simple novelty of choice after weeks of having no options beyond what the chuckwagon provided. Eventually, you make a few practical purchases: tobacco, a new bandana, sturdy socks, ammunition for your revolver. Small things, but important for the working cowboy. The shopkeeper wraps them carefully in brown paper, tying the package with string. The transaction complete, you step back onto the boardwalk, your modest bundle tucked under your arm. The post office is your next stop. Like many cowboys, you have irregular contact with whatever family remains, in your case a mother and younger sister back in Missouri. Letters travel slowly on the frontier, sometimes taking weeks or months to reach their destinations, but they provide a tenuous connection to the world beyond cattle and trail dust. There is indeed a letter waiting. Your mother's careful handwriting on the envelope, the paper worn from its long journey. You take it to a quiet corner of the town's small park, settling on a bench beneath a cottonwood tree to read privately. Her words bring news of home, your sister's schooling, changes in the small farming community where you grew up, gentle inquiries about your health and plans. Between the lines, you can read her continuing hope that you might someday return, though she knows better than to ask directly. The letter stirs complicated feelings. There's love for the family you rarely see, nostalgia for the simpler life you left behind, but also the certainty that you could never return to it permanently. The constraints of farm life, the predictable rhythms of planting and harvest, the close quarters of community, all would feel like a prison after years of the freedom found on the open range. You fold the letter carefully, tucking it into your shirt pocket. Later you'll write a reply, brief but reassuring, with perhaps a small portion of your wages enclosed to help with the farm. It's a pattern repeated by countless cowboys, maintaining connections to homes they visit rarely, if at all. The day stretches before you, filled with small pleasures and observations impossible on the trail. You watch a train arrive at the station, disgorging passengers from the east. Some clearly businessmen come to negotiate cattle purchases, others looking like settlers heading further west, faces alight with hope and apprehension. The locomotive itself fascinates you, marvel of an industrial power so different from the animal strength that powers life on the range. Later you visit the gunsmith to have your revolver cleaned and checked, a practical necessity for a weapon that might someday stand between you and death. The smith works with practiced efficiency, dismantling, cleaning, and reassembling the Colt with reverent care. It's a tool to him, but also something more, a mechanical artwork deserving respect. "Been carrying this a while," he observes, noting the worn grips and holster marks on the barrel. 5 years or thereabouts, you confirm. "Never failed me yet," he nods approvingly. "Keep it clean and it'll serve you 5 more. He hands it back, the action smooth as silk after his ministrations. Such small interactions mark the day. Brief connections with the specialized talents that make up a frontier town, the saddle maker who discusses potential repairs to your gear, the bootmaker who takes measurements for a custom pair you can't quite afford yet, but might save for the bookseller, who seems surprised when you browse his limited selection, but happily discusses the merits of different authors. These conversations reveal something often forgotten in tales of the Wild West, that cowboys were men of varied backgrounds and education. Some, like yourself, could read and write with reasonable facility. Others were former soldiers, tradesmen, or sons of privilege seeking adventure. A few were fugitives from justice or troubled pasts. All found in the cowboy life a certain egalitarianism where a man was judged by his skills and reliability rather than his origins. By late afternoon you find yourself drawn back toward the saloons, where your outfit has likely gathered. Sure enough, several familiar faces are already settled at tables or standing at the bar, exchanging stories with cowboys from other drives. The atmosphere is more subdued than last night, men pacing themselves for the longest stay in town, nursing beers rather than pounding whiskey. Diego waves you over to a table where he sits with Tom and a couple of hands from a different outfit. "There he is," Diego calls. "Was beginning to think you'd gone respectable on us." You settle into an empty chair, accepting the beer someone pushes your way. "Just seeing the sights," you explain. "Town's got more than just saloons, turns out." Tom snorts. "Nothing worth the time that doesn't involve whiskey, women, or cards." But there's no real conviction in his voice. Just the expected performance of the hard-living cowboy that masks more complex realities. The conversation flows easily among men who understand each other's lives, touching on shared experiences and future plans. You learn that most of your outfit will be heading back south in a week, the trail boss having already secured a contract to return with the chuck wagon and remuda. Some will go, lured by the promise of continued work. Others, like Tom, plan to winter in Wyoming, having lined up ranch work that will carry them through until spring. "What about you?" Diego asks. "Coming back with us?" You hesitate, realizing you haven't fully decided. The familiar rhythm of the trail has its appeal. At least you know what to expect, harsh as it might be. But something in you seeks change, perhaps a different challenge or simply a new landscape. "Haven't made up my mind," you admit. "Might head west a bit, see what's hiring in Colorado or Montana." The others nod, understanding the restlessness that drives many cowboys to move regularly between outfits and territories. Few expect to stay in one place or with one outfit forever. It's the nature of the life to follow opportunity and inclination across the vast spaces of the frontier. As evening approaches, the saloon grows more crowded and rowdy. Fresh outfits have arrived in town, their members flush with newly paid wages and eager for entertainment after weeks of deprivation. The piano player arrives, striking up popular tunes that soon have the men singing along in various states of musical ability. Women in bright dresses circulate through the crowd, encouraging drinks and companionship at inflated prices. You nurse your beer, feeling slightly removed from the growing revelry. Last night's excitement has faded, replaced by a more contemplative mood. Perhaps it's the letter from home, or simply the natural come-down after the drive's completion, but you find yourself observing more than participating in the saloon's entertainments. A commotion near the bar draws everyone's attention. Two cowboys from different outfits, faces flushed with alcohol, voices raised in disagreement. The subject is unclear, but the trajectory is familiar. Before it can escalate further, the town marshal appears as if by magic, his presence alone causing a subtle ripple of adjustment in the room. "Take it outside or cool it down," he says simply, one hand resting casually near his holstered revolver. His eyes, hard as flint beneath the brim of his hat, convey the seriousness behind the mildly delivered ultimatum. The cowboys glare at each other a moment longer, then mutter acknowledgements and separate, moving to opposite sides of the room. Crisis averted, the marshal nods to the barkeeper and continues his rounds. It's a scene played out nightly in cattle towns across the frontier, potential violence channeled and contained by the thin veneer of law enforcement. Contrary to the romantic legends that would later grow around the Wild West, most cowboys avoided serious trouble in town. Their work required cooperation, level-headedness, and respect for the practical realities of frontier life. Those who couldn't control their tempers or respect basic rules rarely lasted long in the profession. The mythical gunslinger of later fiction bore little resemblance to the pragmatic working cowboys who drove cattle north from Texas. As the evening progresses, you find yourself ready for quieter surroundings. Bidding goodnight to your companions, you step out onto the boardwalk, inhaling the cooler night air with relief after the smoky confines of the saloon. Stars shine overhead, partially obscured by the glow of town lights but still visible. a reminder of the vast wilderness that lies just beyond these streets and buildings. You walk slowly back to your hotel, considering options for the days ahead. The money in your pocket provides temporary freedom, but it won't last forever. Soon enough, you'll need to make decisions, commit to a direction, secure work for the coming season. For now, though, there's a rare luxury in having choices, in not being immediately bound by the demands of cattle or trail boss. Your room welcomes you with simple comforts, the bed turned down, a pitcher of fresh water on the washstand, a small lamp casting warm light against the coming darkness. You remove your boots and outer clothes, performing ablutions that would have been impossible on the trail. The soap smells faintly of lye rather than the harsh carbolic of the bathhouse, and the water is cool rather than hot, but the simple act of washing face and hands before sleep feels civilized in a way that still surprises you. The bed receives your tired body gratefully, the mattress seeming less disconcertingly soft than the previous night. Perhaps you're already adapting to town comforts, your body forgetting the hard ground more quickly than expected. You extinguish the lamp and lie in darkness, listening to the muffled sounds of Abilene at night, distant piano music, occasional voices or laughter, the passing of late wagons or pedestrians on the street below. Sleep approaches slowly, your mind too full of possibilities to surrender quickly to unconsciousness. Images and memories drift through your thoughts, the endless horizon of the prairie, the night sounds of a bedded-down herd, the camaraderie of men around a campfire after a day's hard riding. For all its hardships and dangers, there's a purity to trail life that town living lacks, a direct connection to the elemental realities of earth and sky, animal and human, that civilization obscures with its comforts and complexities. Yet you can't deny the appeal of those very comforts, the clean sheets beneath you, the prospect of regular meals not limited to beans and salt pork, the simple luxury of a door that closes for privacy. The working cowboy lives between these worlds, experiencing the extremes of primitive hardship and civilized pleasure in a cycle dictated by the seasonal rhythms of cattle raising. Days pass in similar fashion, mornings of exploration and practical errands, afternoons and evenings spent with members of your outfit and other cowboys in town. You write your letter home, enclosing $10 of your wages with promises to send more when possible. You purchase a few more necessities and one luxury, a small book of poetry that fits in your saddlebag, something to read during the long evenings ahead, wherever they might find you. Gradually the mood in town shifts as cowboys begin departing. Some headed south with returning outfits, others to ranches for winter work, a few taking stage or rail to more distant destinations. The saloons grow quieter, the streets less crowded. Abilene begins reverting to its normal rhythms after the frenetic activity of cattle season. A week after your arrival, you make your decision. Rather than returning south with Diego and the others, you'll head northwest, following rumours of good winter work at a large ranch in Wyoming territory. The outfit is known for fair treatment of its hands and offers the possibility of learning more about the ranching business beyond the specific skills of trail driving. The night before your departure, your remaining outfit mates gather for a farewell dinner at the Prairie Rose restaurant. It's a simple meal but feels significant. These men have shared dangers and hardships that create bonds beyond ordinary friendship. Tomorrow your paths will diverge, perhaps never to cross again in the vastness of the frontier. "To the best damn point rider I've worked with," toasts Tom, raising his coffee cup in lieu of whiskey. The others join in, embarrassing you with praise that cowboys rarely express directly. In this moment, with separation imminent, the usual restraint loosens just enough to acknowledge the respect earned over weeks of shared work. Morning brings final preparations, settling your hotel bill, collecting your gear, retrieving your horse from the livery stable. The gelding seems eager to move, perhaps sensing your own readiness to leave town behind. You secure your bedroll and other possessions behind the saddle, check your supplies one last time, and swing up into the familiar embrace of well-worn leather. Abilene falls away behind you as you ride northwest, following the stage road that will eventually connect with trails leading into Wyoming. The town's noise and complexity give way to the simpler soundscape of hoofbeats, wind through grass, and occasional birdsong. Your shoulders relax, breathing deepens, as the open country welcomes you back. The journey will take weeks, with stops at smaller settlements along the way, perhaps occasional work to supplement your funds. Winter will arrive before you reach your destination, bringing snow and bitter cold unfamiliar to a cowboy raised in Texas heat. But such challenges are part of the life you've chosen, a life of movement and adaptation, of skills tested against the elements, of freedom purchased with hardship. As you ride, your thoughts turn to the changing West around you. Already the great cattle drives are beginning to fade, threatened by expanding railroads, the encroachment of farms and their barbed wire fences, the gradual closing of the open range. The era of cowboys as you've known them, those half-wild men moving vast herds across unfenced prairie, has perhaps a decade remaining before progress and civilization transform it beyond recognition. There's a certain melancholy in this knowledge, a sense that you're participating in something already passing into history. Future generations will romanticize the cowboy, transforming the difficult, dangerous work you know intimately into sanitized adventures where heroes never suffer saddle sores or dysentery, where cattle never die of thirst or stampede in midnight storms, where the daily monotony of dust and discomfort gives way to gunfights and romance. Yet even knowing this, you wouldn't trade your experiences, to have lived this life, however briefly, in the grand scope of history, to have ridden through dawn light with 2,000 longhorns spread before you, to have felt the perfect communication between horse and rider during a difficult river crossing, to have shared coffee and hardtack with men whose entire worth was measured in skill and reliability rather than wealth or background. These are privileges few will know in the coming age of machines and cities. The sun reaches its zenith and begins its westward descent. As you continue riding, the landscape unfolds before you, rolling prairie giving way to more varied terrain, hills rising in the distance against the impossibly blue sky. Your horse maintains a steady pace, conserving energy for the long journey ahead. There's no hurry now, no herd to push, no schedule to maintain beyond the natural rhythms of daylight and darkness, hunger and rest. And by late afternoon you begin looking for a suitable camping spot, somewhere with water and grass for your horse, perhaps a bit of shelter from the wind. An experienced eye identifies possibilities that a town dweller might miss, the slight depression that will block the prevailing wind,